Listen carefully, because this isn't for everyone. There is a shift happening right now, silent, invisible, but powerful enough to change the direction of your entire life. Most people won't notice it. Most people will miss it completely. But if you're watching this, if you feel that strange pressure building inside your chest like something is about to break open, then this message found you for a reason. Because what's coming next isn't random. It's not luck. It's not coincidence. A major financial shift is near, and it's not just about money. It's about alignment. It's about awakening. And it's about you stepping into something you were never taught to believe was possible. You felt it, haven't you? That quiet frustration, watching others move forward while you feel stuck, working hard, thinking deeply, yet nothing seems to fully open up. It's like you've been held back, delayed, tested beyond what feels fair. But what if that delay wasn't punishment? What if it was preparation? Because the truth is, those who are chosen don't follow normal timelines. They go through isolation first, confusion first, loss first, not because they're failing, but because they're being built differently. There are people who chase money their entire lives and still feel empty. And then there are people like you, who never chased it blindly, yet something deep inside you always knew when it comes, it will come differently. Not by force, but by alignment. You were never meant to fit into the system the way others do. That's why you've always felt out of place. That's why you question things others accept without thinking. And that's also why your financial path feels delayed. Because your path isn't built on survival. It's built on awareness. There's a moment in every awakened person's life where things start to shift quietly. Not outside, but inside. Your mindset changes. Your habits change. Your tolerance for meaningless things disappears. You start walking away from what drains you, even when it's uncomfortable. And that's when the shift begins. But here's what most people don't understand. Before elevation comes pressure. Before clarity comes confusion. Before financial expansion comes restriction. You've been in that restriction phase. Moments where money felt tight. Opportunities didn't come. Doors stayed closed. And it made you question yourself. Am I doing something wrong? Why is this so hard? But what you didn't see was what was happening behind the scenes. Your mindset was being rewired. Your discipline was being tested. Your patience was being strengthened. Because sudden success without inner stability destroys people. And you were never meant to be destroyed. You were meant to handle it. There's a reason you're more aware than most. A reason you feel deeply. A reason you notice patterns others ignore. It's not a weakness. It's preparation. Because the financial shift coming into your life requires a different kind of person. Not just someone who wants money, but someone who understands responsibility. Someone who won't lose themselves when things change. And that's why your journey has been slow, but intentional. You see, society doesn't teach this. It teaches speed, comparison, external validation. But it doesn't teach alignment. It doesn't teach that real growth happens in silence, when no one is watching. And because you don't move like everyone else, people misunderstand you. They question you. They doubt you. Some even try to discourage you. Not because they hate you, but because they don't understand you. You operate on a different frequency. While they chase temporary wins, you're being prepared for something sustainable, something that lasts. And now something is shifting. You've started thinking differently, seeing opportunities where you once saw limits, feeling a strange sense of calm, even in uncertainty. That's not random. That's alignment beginning. Because when your internal world changes, your external world has no choice but to follow. Money doesn't just come from effort. It comes from awareness, timing, and positioning. And your positioning is changing right now. That idea you've been thinking about, that direction you've been hesitating to take, it's not there by accident. It's part of the shift. But here's the truth most people avoid. The shift won't feel comfortable. It will require you to move differently, to trust yourself more than you trust opinions, to step forward even when you don't feel fully ready. Because readiness doesn't come first. Movement does. And once you move, everything starts aligning faster than you expect. You'll notice it. Small wins at first, unexpected opportunities, conversations that open doors. And slowly, things that once felt impossible start becoming normal. Not because you got lucky, but because you finally aligned. And the most powerful part, you won't feel desperate anymore. Because you'll understand. You were never behind. You were just being prepared in silence for something bigger than what you were asking for. So if this message resonates with you, don't ignore it. Pay attention to what's shifting inside you. Trust the process, even if it doesn't fully make sense yet. Because not everyone will experience this kind of transformation. But you will if you stay aware and keep moving forward. And if you're ready to fully step into this next phase, then don't stay silent. Drop a comment below saying, "I'm ready for the shift." Like this video so it reaches others who need this message. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Return to Awakening. Because this isn't just content. It's a reminder of who you're becoming. And even now, there's a part of you that feels it getting closer. It's subtle, not loud, not obvious, but it's there. A quiet shift in your thinking, a deeper awareness in your decisions, a growing sense that you can't go back to who you used to be. That version of you, the one who tolerated less, settled more, and stayed silent, is fading. And it's happening for a reason. Because the next level of your life requires a different version of you. Not louder, not more aggressive, but more certain, more grounded, more aware of your own value. You see, one of the biggest illusions you were taught is that money comes from chasing. Chasing opportunities, chasing approval, chasing stability. But what you're starting to realize now is that chasing creates resistance. And resistance blocks flow. That's why no matter how hard you tried before, something always felt off. You were moving, but not aligned. You were working, but not connected to purpose. And deep down you knew it. That feeling of emptiness, even when you were doing everything right, wasn't a mistake. It was a signal, a sign that you were meant to move differently. And now you are. You're becoming more selective with your energy, more intentional with your time, more aware of what truly matters and what doesn't. And this is where everything begins to change. Because when you stop wasting energy on what drains you, you create space for what builds you. And that space is where the shift enters. But here's something most people never talk about. When you start evolving like this, you may feel alone. Not because you are alone, but because your perspective has changed. Conversations that once felt normal now feel shallow. Places that once felt comfortable now feel limiting. And people, even people you care about, may not understand you anymore. They might say you've changed, that you're distant, that you're too serious or too focused. But what they don't see is that you're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself. And that process requires separation. because you can't step into a higher level of awareness while holding onto a lower level of thinking. Something has to shift, and sometimes that shift looks like distance. But don't mistake distance for loss. It's alignment. It's necessary, because the financial shift coming into your life isn't just about income. It's about capacity, your ability to hold more without losing your center, your ability to grow without becoming overwhelmed, your ability to receive without fear. And that kind of stability doesn't happen overnight. It's built through everything you've been through. The setbacks, the delays, the moments where you had to figure things out on your own. Those weren't random struggles. They were training. Every time things didn't go your way, you were being forced to think deeper, to adapt, to grow, to become stronger mentally, not just externally. And now you're starting to see things differently. You're no longer reacting the same way. You're no longer panicking over temporary setbacks. There's a calmness building inside you, a quiet confidence. And that's one of the biggest signs that the shift is near. Because when your mind becomes steady, your life becomes stable. And stability attracts opportunity. Not chaos, not confusion. Clarity. And clarity changes everything. You begin to recognize what's actually worth your time, what aligns with your growth, what moves you forward instead of keeping you stuck. And slowly, without forcing anything, you start making better decisions. Decisions that compound. Decisions that build momentum. And momentum is what turns small steps into major breakthroughs. That's how the shift happens. Not in one big moment, but in consistent alignment over time. Until one day, you look back and realize everything changed. And when that realization hits, it won't feel loud. It won't be some dramatic moment where everything suddenly explodes into place. It will feel quiet, stable, like something finally makes sense. Because the truth is, real shifts don't always announce themselves. They unfold, slowly then all at once. And you're in that unfolding right now. That's why you've been feeling restless. Not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. There's a difference. Restlessness isn't always discomfort. Sometimes it's expansion trying to happen. It's your mind rejecting what no longer fits. Your energy pulling away from what's no longer aligned. And your spirit pushing you toward something greater, even if you can't fully see it yet. That's the stage you're in. And it's one of the most important stages of all. Because this is where most people turn back. This is where they doubt themselves. Where they go back to old habits. Where they choose comfort over growth. But you didn't come this far to go back. You feel that too, don't you? That quiet refusal inside you. Even on your hardest days. Even when things don't make sense. There's still something in you that says, keep going. That voice isn't random. It's not imagination. It's awareness. And awareness is what separates you. While others follow patterns without questioning them. You pause. You observe. You think deeper. And that's why your path feels different. Because it is. You're not here to repeat cycles. You're here to break them. Financially, mentally, emotionally. And breaking cycles isn't easy. It requires you to see things others ignore. To walk away from what feels familiar. To choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. And that's exactly what you've been doing, even when it didn't feel like progress. Because progress isn't always visible. Sometimes it's internal. It's the way you think now compared to before. the way you respond instead of react, the way you value your time instead of wasting it. These small shifts, they're not small at all. They're foundations, and foundations determine everything that comes next. You can't build something strong on a weak base. And that's why your journey has been focused on depth, not speed. Because when things finally start moving for you, they won't collapse. They'll hold, they'll grow, and they'll expand in ways that feel stable, not chaotic. That's the kind of financial shift that lasts. Not fast money, not temporary success, but something sustainable, something that aligns with who you've become. And here, where it gets even deeper, you're starting to trust yourself more. Maybe not fully yet, but more than before. You're listening to your instincts, paying attention to your thoughts, becoming aware of your patterns. And that self-awareness is one of the most valuable assets you can have. Because when you understand yourself, you stop making decisions from fear. You stop settling. You stop chasing things that were never meant for you. And instead, you begin to move with intention, with clarity, with purpose. And when your actions come from that place, they carry power. They create results. And those results start changing your reality, step by step, choice by choice, until one day, you're no longer hopping for a shift. You're living in it, and once you begin living in that shift, something unexpected happens. You stop chasing validation. You stop needing constant reassurance, because you start seeing the evidence in your own life. Not in opinions, not in comparisons, but in real, tangible changes. The way you handle pressure, the way you make decisions, the way you no longer panic over things that used to control you. That's when it becomes real. That's when you realize this isn't just a phase. It's a transformation. And transformations don't reverse. They evolve. They deepen. They expand. And the more you lean into it, the more everything around you begins to reflect it. Your environment starts to shift. Opportunities begin to show up in unexpected ways. People enter your life or quietly exit it. And for the first time, you're not forcing anything. You're allowing. That's a different kind of power. Because forcing comes from fear. But allowing comes from trust. And trust is what unlocks flow. This is where financial energy begins to move differently in your life. Not from stress, not from desperation, but from clarity and alignment. You begin to recognize opportunities faster. You start seeing value where others overlook it. You understand timing better. And instead of reacting impulsively, you move with intention. That alone separates you from the majority. Because most people operate from urgency. They rush decisions. They chase quick results. They act from pressure. But pressure clouds judgment. And clouded judgment leads to mistakes. You're stepping out of that cycle. You're becoming more calculated, more aware, more disciplined. And discipline is one of the strongest forms of self-respect. It's choosing long-term growth over short-term satisfaction. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen your position. You build momentum. You create leverage. That's how real financial growth happens. Not in bursts, but in consistency, in awareness, in controlled, intentional movement. And the more consistent you become, the more predictable your growth becomes. Not because life becomes easy, but because you become stable. And stability changes everything. It allows you to think clearly, even under pressure, to act wisely, even when opportunities come fast, to stay grounded, even when things start going your way. And that last part is crucial, because many people can handle struggle, but not everyone can handle success. Success exposes weaknesses. It amplifies habits. It tests character. And if the foundation isn't strong, it collapses just as fast as it rises. But your foundation has been built slowly, intentionally, through experiences that forced you to grow, that forced you to think differently, that forced you to become more than who you were. And now, you're not the same person anymore. You can feel that, even if you can't fully explain it. Your mindset is sharper. Your awareness is deeper. Your standards are higher. And your tolerance for anything misaligned is lower than ever before. That's not SLUCHE Kratkoi. That's preparation reaching its final stages. Because the version of you that's emerging now is ready to handle what's coming next. Not perfectly, but consciously. And that makes all the difference. And as this version of you continues to rise, you'll start noticing something else. You're no longer impressed by things that once distracted you. The noise, the hype, the illusion of quick success. It doesn't pull you in the same way anymore. Because now you see through it. You understand that real growth doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need constant attention. It doesn't need approval to be real. And that awareness protects you. It keeps you focused. It keeps you grounded, while everything around you keeps moving fast. Because the world will always try to rush you, to make you feel behind, to make you feel like you need to catch up. But you're starting to realize something powerful. You're not behind. You're just on a different path. A path that required patience. A path that required depth. A path that required you to become someone most people never take the time to become. And now, that difference is about to separate you. Not in a way that isolates you, but in a way that elevates you. Because when preparation meets opportunity, that's when the shift becomes undeniable. And you're getting close to that intersection. Very close. That's why your intuition has been stronger lately. That inner voice guiding you, nudging you, warning you when something feels off. It's becoming clearer, more direct, more consistent. And the more you listen to it, the more aligned your decisions become. This isn't luck. This is awareness turning into action. And action is what turns potential into reality. You've had the potential for a long time. You've felt it. That sense that you're capable of more. That you're meant for more. Even when your current situation didn't reflect it. But potential alone isn't enough. It needs direction. It needs discipline. It needs execution. And that's exactly what you're stepping into now. You're no longer just thinking. You're starting to move. Even if the steps are small. Even if the progress feels slow. Movement is happening. And movement creates momentum. Momentum creates results. And results reinforce belief. That's the cycle you're entering. A powerful cycle. One that builds on itself. Stronger with every step you take. And the more this cycle strengthens, the less doubt you carry. The less hesitation you feel. The less you rely on external validation. Because you're seeing it for yourself. You're experiencing it. And experience is the strongest form of belief. No one can take that away from you. No one can convince you otherwise. Because you've lived it. You felt the shift. And once you feel it, there's no going back to who you used to be. There's no returning to old patterns without awareness. There's no settling for less without recognizing it. You've crossed that line, and that line changes everything. And after you cross that line, life starts testing you in a different way. Not to break you, but to confirm you, to see if you truly believe what you've become aware of, or if you'll fall back into old patterns when pressure returns. Because pressure will return, but this time it won't feel the same. You won't react the same. You won't panic the same. There will be a pause, a moment where you observe instead of immediately responding. And in that pause, you choose differently. That's growth. That's the real shift. Not what happens around you, but how you respond within you. Because your response shapes your reality. And now your responses are changing. You're thinking before acting. You're analyzing before reacting. You're stepping back instead of rushing forward blindly. That level of awareness is rare, and it gives you an edge most people don't even realize exists. Because while others repeat cycles, you break them. While others move emotionally, you move intentionally. And that difference creates different results. Stronger results. More stable results. Results that don't disappear overnight. And slowly, you start noticing something else. Your relationship with money begins to change. You no longer see it as something distant or something that only comes through struggle. You begin to see it as energy, as a reflection of value, alignment, and awareness. And when your awareness increases, your ability to create value increases. And when you create value, you naturally attract more in return. That's the shift most people never understand. They chase money instead of becoming someone who naturally attracts it. But you're stepping into that understanding now. You're focusing more on growth, more on skills, more on thinking long-term instead of reacting short-term. And those small shifts, they compound, they build, they create a foundation that supports real expansion. Because fast gains without understanding lead to fast losses, but steady growth with awareness leads to lasting success. And you're being guided toward the lasting kind, even if it took longer, even if it tested your patience, even if it forced you to question everything. It was worth it, because now you're not just gaining, you're understanding. And understanding is what keeps everything together when things start moving fast. Because things will start moving fast. That's part of the shift too. After a long period of slow progress, things begin to accelerate. Opportunities come closer together. Decisions become more important. And timing becomes critical. But instead of feeling overwhelmed, you'll feel ready. Not perfectly ready, but aware enough to handle it. And that awareness will guide you through every step. You'll start trusting your decisions more, acting with more confidence, moving with more clarity. And that clarity will open doors that once felt impossible to reach. And when those doors begin to open, you'll understand something most people never do. Opportunities were always there. You just couldn't see them before. Not because you weren't capable, but because you weren't aligned yet. Alignment changes vision. It sharpens your awareness. It allows you to recognize what was always in front of you, but hidden behind distraction, doubt, and noise. And now that noise is fading. You're less distracted, less reactive, less influenced by what doesn't truly matter. That clarity is your advantage. Because in a world full of confusion, the one who sees clearly moves powerfully. And that's who you're becoming. Someone who doesn't just move, but moves with purpose. Every decision more intentional. Every step more calculated. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. And awareness creates precision. You stop wasting time on things that don't align. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop investing energy where there's no return. And instead, you begin focusing on what truly matters. Growth, value, direction. And that focus multiplies your results. Because energy directed with intention becomes powerful. And power, when controlled, creates impact. That's the stage you're entering now, where your actions begin to carry weight, where your decisions begin to create real change, where your effort finally starts translating into visible outcomes. And those outcomes, they won't just affect your finances. They'll affect your confidence, your mindset, your identity. Because success, real success, changes how you see yourself. And once your self-image evolves, everything else follows. You begin to expect more from life. You begin to demand more from yourself. You no longer settle for what's convenient. You move toward what's meaningful. And that shift in standards is what elevates your entire life. Because your standards determine your direction. And your direction determines your destination. You're no longer drifting. You're choosing. Consciously. Intentionally. And every conscious choice you make moves you further into alignment with the life you've always felt was possible. That life isn't imaginary. It's not unrealistic. It's not out of reach. It was just waiting for you to become the version of yourself that could handle it. And now, that version is here. Still growing, still learning, still evolving, but present, aware, ready. And the more present you become, the less control fear has over you. It doesn't disappear completely, but it loses its power, because you start seeing it for what it really is. Not a signal to stop, but a signal that you're stepping into something new, something unfamiliar, something that requires growth. And instead of backing away, you lean in, carefully, consciously, but confidently. That's a different kind of strength. Not loud, not aggressive, but steady. And that steadiness is what allows you to keep moving forward, even when things aren't fully clear yet. Because clarity doesn't always come before action. Sometimes it comes because of action. And that's what you're starting to experience. The more you move, the more things begin to make sense. The more connections you see, the more patterns you recognize. And those patterns, they start revealing something deeper. You begin to understand timing. Not everything is meant to happen immediately. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken. Not every door is meant to be opened. And that realization protects you. It keeps you from rushing into things that aren't aligned. It keeps you focused on what truly matters. Because now, you're not just looking for movement. You're looking for the right movement. And that changes everything. Because right movement creates right outcomes. And right outcomes build a life that actually feels stable, not chaotic. That's the kind of financial shift you're stepping into. One that doesn't come with constant stress. One that doesn't force you to sacrifice your peace. One that aligns with your values, not against them. And that alignment is rare, because most people believe they have to choose money or peace, success or stability, growth or balance. But that's not the truth. That's conditioning, and you're breaking out of it. You're realizing that true success includes peace, includes clarity, includes control. And the more you step into that understanding, the more your actions reflect it. You stop making desperate decisions. You stop chasing things that promise quick results. You start building slowly, intentionally with purpose. And building with purpose creates something real, something that doesn't fall apart under pressure, something that grows even when things around you are uncertain. Because it's not built on luck. It's built on awareness, on discipline, on consistency. And those three things, when combined, create unstoppable momentum. The kind that doesn't rely on external conditions. The kind that keeps moving, regardless of what's happening around you. That's where you're heading, into a phase where your growth becomes self-sustaining, where your progress no longer depends on motivation alone, but on structure, on habits, on a mindset that doesn't break under pressure. And once you reach that level, everything changes again.